Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Hi, Robert Hartline here with The Decision by EO Nashville. I have a special guest. It is a voice you have heard on this podcast many of times. It's Eric Jackson.
Hello.
So we have this beautiful opportunity. We had a little break in the calendaring where someone couldn't make it. And we said, you know what? We haven't interviewed each other. So I don't even know who you are hardly, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I get this stranger as my co-host, and I just don't know much about him. So let's dive deep. Let's go into the cavern. Let's understand Eric Jackson.
I'm an open book. Let's talk.
Open book, yeah. So let's start out with your, I guess, earliest entrepreneurial venture. What was that for you?
Gosh. Well, I think every kid mowed yards, right? Yeah. So I did a little bit of that. Of course, I didn't have to pay for any expenses because it was my dad's lawnmower, and he generously gave up the gas and whatever else. Really, it was not until my 20s, and I'm working in a print shop in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Not a glamorous situation for me. My job was a typesetter. So, college degree, and I'm working behind the counter at a print shop. And I was the guy who would typeset your business card or your letterhead when you would come in. And a guy named Phil Merwin walked in one day. He owned the Hendersonville Free Press and struck up a conversation with me. We became friends. He would actually I would outsource the tougher stuff to him. So if it was something that I just couldn't pull off technically, I would send it to him and I would mark it up and resell it. And we went to lunch at the Mexican restaurant next door in the strip mall that I was working in. And he asked me, you ever thought about owning your own business? I thought, well, not really. I mean, I thought about doing some things on the side, some side hustles, but never really something that I would make a living doing. And that was the genesis of my first business. I went on to work somewhere else briefly. He actually got me another job so I could get some more skills in that industry. And from that, we ended up fulfilling a very small sector in the printing industry that now has kind of vanished. It was pre-press. So designers would create something, and they were doing it electronically at this point, but they didn't have all the high resolution scans. They didn't know how to technically put it all together to create film for the printing press. So we were creating that film, and that industry went away in the course of about 7 or 8 years because direct to plate became a thing and digital printing became a thing. So that was really, I thought I would be doing that for the rest of my career. And I realized pretty quickly, well, this is not going to last. I've got to do something else. So that was really the first sea change in an industry that, kicked me in the teeth and got me to realize that there's no such thing as forever.
Right. Now, you look back on that question about, have you ever thought about your own business was that a good thing or a bad thing to get into business, in that business, and just in general?
I got into, my major in college was advertising. And the reason I did it is because I loved car magazines. I loved print. And you look at the back of my 4Runner today, you can see I love things that are printed. I'm a sticker nut, right? I just love the printed image. I love communication. I love imagery. It just was in my blood. And so I was in an industry that I thought, well, this is what I'll do forever. And it began to change. And I realized, well, there's something else out there. I had been playing around with the internet and learning how to build websites. The first website that I built was when I was with my company and my partner. A friend of mine was a county commissioner in Sumner County, and they had put aside some money, had some budget for a website. And he came to me and said, "Can you build a website?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, what if you had $5,000 and the county wanted to pay for a website?" I'm like, "Okay, well, like so many of us, I'll figure it out." I'm not opposed to that. So I did, and built Sumner County's first website. And so I realized that there was an opportunity there, and I understood communications. It wouldn't be printed, but it would be a different medium. And so when that business started to go south, my partners had a different vision. They wanted to build onto the building that we had. They wanted to add a printing press. And so they were wanting to go into a business that we really didn't know that much about. It was distinctly different from what we were doing and required a lot more capital, And so I just saw that wasn't where I wanted to go, and they bought me out and started a web development firm, which lasted for about 9 months. Because we got approached by craft CPAs, and craft CPAs bought us.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
I can't say that they made the best decision by us out, but I'm very thankful for that relationship and for that time that I spent at craft CPAs. Those guys, they've got a heck of a business, good people. I learned how to use Excel. You can't be around accountants for 3 years and not understand something about Excel. But it was a big learning experience for me. I learned a lot being there about how business actually worked. I wasn't probably as involved in the first business because I had a partner that, he was running it. I was kind of a cog in the wheel, so to speak. I wasn't making a lot of decisions. So I got to learn a lot more being in that environment, and thank God I wasn't doing accounting. I was there in the craft technology division, but I learned a lot.
And what got you back into wanting to own your business again?
Well, honestly, the moment I signed the dotted line to sell the web development firm, I realized, oh God, now I'm working for somebody else.
You're an employee again.
I'm a W-2.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it really,
which could be good.
It could be, but I'm just not wired that way. I don't take direction well. I kind of need to be out front. And so, I learned some things from that. Can't say I was a good employee. I never felt comfortable. And I knew that when the right opportunity came along, I would take it. And
what was the opportunity?
I had a friend who was in the title and escrow business, and he hated the title and escrow software. And that's a story as old as time. Most organizations that are using some software, especially 15, 20 years ago, they were using stuff that was holdover from the old green screen days, DOS software. Software companies will, or at least in the old days, they would build something and they would get fat and happy from it, and they wouldn't upgrade it, and they would just keep collecting that money. I mean, it's the human condition. We like being fat and happy. And so he had this idea that, if we built something else that was better, that people actually wanted to use, that would be a good business to be in. And so we named the company to build that software. It was called Keystone Business Solutions. That company still exists. We ended up, after a year, abandoning that idea. Just didn't work out for a variety of reasons. And we went back to what we knew, my partner and I, who was a coworker at Kraft, Mike Miller. And he's still running Keystone Business Solutions. Back in 2003, it was formed. And then after that year, we started doing IT consulting again, website development, and we morphed over the 16 years that we were partners. He's always done managed services, IT consulting, hardware, software, system design, those things. And over that 16 years, the marketing part, the website development piece of the business really changed dramatically, of course, because it was a new industry in 2003 when we started. I remember having to tell people why they needed a website. That was really the old days of that business, or the early days, I should say. And over those years, we began to incorporate marketing into it. And we started out just building websites, and our customer, we hoped, would use the website for their own marketing purposes, but we ended up morphing into an agency, really. And we got to the point in 2019 where we realized, really several years before that we didn't belong together anymore. We like each other. We're still friends. But we just, as a business, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah. And let's talk about that for a minute, because I think a lot of people, I, for instance, started a business without a partner, and then I got a partner, and then I've seen both having a partner, not a partner, how beneficial both are. Because I've always said, and I've heard other people say this, like, if you don't have a partner, you wish you had one. If you had a partner, you wish you didn't have that partner. and it's not that, it's just a different dynamic, right?
Yeah.
When did you find out that was a decision that you needed to make? How did you come about that decision? Well, you were an EO at the time.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, my forum is glad they don't have to hear about it anymore, because I complained a lot about the situation. I just didn't. I don't want to rehash it here, but it was something I should have pulled the trigger on many years before we actually did. We would look at the P&L and argue about who was contributing the most to the bottom line, and it, of course, all that doesn't really matter now, but it was. It was just a dumb business to have two completely different things.
Well, yeah, almost have two visions going on.
Yeah, we had
time.
two, and that's what that at the end of the day, that's what mattered. Is he had different needs and a different vision where he wanted to go with his business, and it was better for us to be apart. And we're both very happy. We're trying to find a weekend to have dinner this winter with our spouses, and we're still, like I said, we're still friends. And at the end of the day, if you have two visions, you don't have any.
It's hard to row in two different directions.
Right.
I mean, there's no way you can do that. Now, I think the only way it would work, I don't know how it would work. Yeah. I mean, when you really start to really. And now, how are you different in the way you do decisions now than you were back then? Because part of the reasoning for this podcast and why it's called The Decision is to help that EO member. And I am that EO member that would have brought the same story, the same decision I know I needed to make in my heart, but did not have the confidence to do the decision. So what did I do? I don't know if I was looking for a magic bullet. I don't know if I was looking for someone to tell me what to do. I don't know. Like, how are you different today than you were before on your decision-making process?
So I wanted to make decisions, and Mike had a different vision. And so we would disagree on what decision to make, and we ended up not making one. And I totally understand why he didn't want to make X decision, because it was something that would not necessarily benefit the side of the business where his loyalties were. So at the end of the day, when we did make that decision to split, I got the freedom to make any decision I wanted to. And it obviously I realized that and went, oh, yeah, I don't have anything holding me back. Am I going to screw this all up? That was the first thing that went through my head. Am I capable of doing this? And of course, September 1, 2019 was our first day in business. So, 6 months later, here comes COVID. What's this going to do? And so, like most forums, we were talking about what the effects of COVID were going to be on the economy as a whole, on each other's businesses, on our own businesses. And I talked to a lot of people in the industry. There were several EO members outside of Nashville who were in the agency business that I ended up talking to that reached out. And one in particular, who's in the New Jersey chapter, we talk on a regular basis about how our business is doing. We trade some secrets and help each other out. The MyEO agency business or agency group here in Nashville kind of sprung out of that. We like to get together and talk about shop and complain about our problems. So it gave me the freedom to make some decisions about things that I really wanted to do. And those were mostly successful. The agency business, your biggest asset is your people. If you don't have the right people, you can't do great work. And so it was really important for me to take care of my people as best I could. And so we changed some of the ways that we did business. We enabled people to work from home because COVID, right? Mm. And we made our first out-of-state hire because we had to. Partly because the amount of talent in Nashville was just not there. We had to open the search up. And so the first person that we found was actually in Michigan. She ended up moving here and then moved back recently, but she still happily works for us. Our salesperson, who I knew, she worked for me at Keystone in like 2007, I want to say, first job out of college. She came back to work for Element 47 this time, and it works. Remote. She lives in Salt Lake City. Yeah. So we were able to really do some things differently. COVID really helped us in a number of ways. And when COVID first happened, my team was worried to death. They, we're brand new. Obviously, we had some revenue, and we had been in business for a while, but just a different name. And so I predicted that, people are just going to have to get comfortable with this. It'll take a couple of months, and then revenue will go back up. We had a couple of bad months, but after that, no problem.
Now you've had, because we have spent some time together over the last 2 seasons of the podcast and spending more time together. And I've watched your growth, like you've had some phenomenal, decisions that you've made in the last year. And we've talked about them in the past, and full circle, and that is sobriety. But in full circle, how has your decision-making elevated now that you walk this sobriety journey? How has that changed the way you do leadership now?
Well, even before that, I decided that I needed to have a leadership team. We implemented EOS into the business, and I wanted to have a more transparent leadership team where, they saw what the P&L looked like, and they helped me make decisions. And I guess it was actually right before I quit drinking and became sober that I had a little health scare. I thought I was having a heart attack. Maybe I had this pain in my chest, and it wouldn't go away, and ended up, I was totally fine, but it scared my team. And so I come to a leadership team meeting one day, and on the issues list is the 25th Amendment. I'm like, what the hell is this doing on here? This is 25th Amendment? I was like, oh, they're talking about me. What would they do if I wasn't drawing breath anymore? How would they survive? How would they get paid? How would our clients be taken care of? So that addressed the elephant in the room, and we needed to talk about succession plans. And I presented on a succession plan. And I can't say too much about who else in the room in my forum didn't have a succession plan, but there were a couple. You're right. It's like the very successful business people who have EO qualifying businesses and then some had no idea what would happen if they dropped dead. And so it sparked some really good conversations, and we got some SAPs to come in and present on what that might look like, how to account for that. And it made me realize that I was making too many decisions on a daily basis, and I was really tired of it. It didn't bring me joy, and it was time to delegate some of that. At the same time, during that 25th Amendment conversation, my leadership team, Gretchen and Zach, they wanted to take on more, and they're perfectly capable of it. So we determined what their increased responsibilities and pay would look like, and gave them some more authority and responsibility. And that's something that those two are tied together. I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to give responsibility away, but don't want to give authority. Because if you have responsibility with no authority, you're kind of a slave.
Yeah.
And so to give them also the decision-making authority is huge. And so that made me a lot less responsible on a daily basis for making all these decisions. I outsourced it, if you will, and I crafted my job to be what I was put on earth by God to do, and that is to connect and grow people. That's part of the purpose of the company too, but to be able to go out and build relationships, which is what most CEOs are supposed to be doing, to talk to those referral sources that would be our next source of business, and to grow the team, and to have that vision like I had when I was in the pre-press business, and I realized this business is not going to be around forever. Let's not drive off a cliff here and spend millions of dollars on a business that is declining. Let's go in a different direction. So that's kind of, and AI is in front of us right now, and we're grappling with that and trying to figure out what the ramifications of that will be. And I've had conversations with my team that this is something to be embraced. Not all of it's going to be good, and it's probably going to eat away at smaller agencies, or companies that would normally hire an agency will try and do it themselves, and they'll have those tools. It'll be good enough, just like digital printing was. Yeah. So it's a changing landscape of business right now in the agency world. And so we're feeling our way through it, trying to trying to see where we're putting our feet the next steps.
Well, I think what's interesting too is the fog of sobriety after you have some time pass and things start getting clearer around you and how you used to operate. You've taken some of the pressure off the valve, so to say, when you kind of move yourself away from the business, so you can work on the things you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you start operating, and then you start looking around and go, I would like to do this, or I like to do, it almost like opens you up to more possibility.
Yeah. I'm definitely more in touch with who I am and what I need. We were talking on the phone before we got here, and I used to love a good party and being in a place that had a lot of noise, and I can't stand it anymore. I just look at the camera. Sorry, Samira, I'm not coming to the Christmas party.
Oh no, I'm working on him, guys. It's okay. It's okay. But I think what's interesting, and I think this is I was not the only one that felt a lot of noise in a room, and there's studies to say that the driven are very sensitive to noise, very sensitive to. Like if you have loud music along with trying to maintain a conversation at the same time, that is a very stressful, anxiety building exercise for the distractible. And we are the most distractible people that it walked this earth. Like if you hear, because we are conditioned for safety, we're looking for a random noise in the crowd. We're always like, we got this fear engine that is kind of just there. And it's like, it was great for us in our business and how we grew and all these other things. But in certain environments, we have to be careful about the place that we do events. I mean, it's not like you could ever know that you're going to have that situation.
Right. Well,
but it's not something to be aware of, you know?
Yeah. Well, it used to be YEO. They were not planning on 55-year-olds being at events.
Yeah, I know. Now we're going to have like handicap accessible events, and
it's coming.
It's coming. So talk about, I guess, best lessons from Forum that you have. Like as a new member would join a Forum, like help that member navigate what your experience could be helpful for them.
I think I learned most recently that the most important thing to lead with, if you're having an issue, if you feel compelled to get help from your forum, is to lead with the emotion, which sounds silly probably to most men listening to this podcast. We want reason, right? But if you can't describe what the emotion that you're feeling is, then people can't necessarily relate to why it's a problem. Maybe they can understand the X's and O's of the problem, but what does it mean to you? Why are you wanting to fix this problem? What is the issue behind it? And that helps people get in the same space as you to commiserate with you and to understand the problem from your perspective. Because ultimately, you're going to be the one who has to solve that problem. Nobody in the forum is going to step up and do it for you. That's not what forum is for. But you want them to understand where you are.
Yeah. And, part of the forum experience I was doing wrong in the beginning because, so we could help someone fix their problems. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be just sharing the stories, sharing the experiences. And when you do ask someone, like, and you can see in their body language when they're describing something, you can see the agitation. And then if you ask them, like, where's that anger? Like, where's that anger? Where's that from? Where have you had that anger before? It's not just remove the event.
Yeah.
Where's this anger before? Let's carve in a little bit, dive into, like, it's really not about Julie, is it?
When we had some difficulty, I thought I was going to leave my forum. It just occurred to me one day, and we talked about this on a previous podcast.
Yeah,
and Mose, yeah. I think I went to him and told him that, and he said, "Well, let's unpack this. Maybe I can coach you. What is the emotion you're feeling?" And I was like, "Man, I knew this was coming. I should have known. This is what we're supposed to ask first." And it took me a minute to realize that it was resentment. I felt resentment because of a couple of things that had happened. And we were not following some of the newer practices, the clearing rounds and things like that are best practice. And that solved the problem. And then once I revealed that that's how I felt and told the rest of the forum about the problems I was having, everybody opened up.
Yeah, let's just, for the audience, people that have not listened to other instructions about clearing round, why don't you navigate that for us? What is a clearing round?
Yeah, so, we come rushing into forum on two wheels, and we've been out in the rest of the world that doesn't operate like the forum, and we've had experiences with other people that are in that room, maybe from the last forum meeting that we had. And a clearing round is going around that room and looking at that person. I'm going to look at you, Robert. Is there anything that will hold me back from getting the best experience I can out of this forum? Am I able to say anything and everything in this room and not hold back because of some issue that Robert and I have? And I will look at you and say either, Robert, I didn't like the way you talked to me at break last forum meeting. You said something to me that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I didn't say anything, and I need to get this off my chest. Or, Robert, we're clear.
Yeah.
And move on to the next person.
I'm clear with you. I'm clear with, and that is a very powerful exercise. And, something that I have noticed about myself, when you're really starting to get in touch with yourself and you're really giving your voice, your ability to speak for your soul and speak for yourself, and being more brave and having those uncomfortable conversations, like being able to do that with a trusted EO friend, to have that level of authenticity, stepping in the danger zone, saying something that maybe I'm a little fearful, maybe they're not going to like me if I say this, but no, I'm saying it. And how powerful that is when you bring that to other aspects of your life. You're telling that employee that thing you need to say.
Yeah.
Don't shove it under the rug anymore. Like, you get to practice with other EO people. That's a safe place to practice that.
Yeah.
And you'll notice it's easier the more you do it.
Yeah, it is. Especially if you care about the other person and you have that relationship, and we've made it part of our culture at Element 47. One of our core values is be bold.
Be bold.
And I think I probably stole that from EO, but it is in our business and communications, we have to have a lot of difficult conversations. We're not delivering a product that's been made and, the only choice you have is the color. No, there's a lot of choices to be made. And sometimes our clients have differences of opinion about, what we're delivering, or we have differences of opinion between us about how things should be done. And so we have to open up, and we encourage our clients to give us feedback. And the same is true in forum. It makes life better if you kind of are able to clear the air, let everybody be heard, treat each other with respect and kindness, a sense of humility. Let your ego go and just talk about the facts, and then work from a position of fairness to get to a solution and move on.
Yeah, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Eric, thanks for joining us. Listen, if you are a Nashville entrepreneur here in Nashville, Tennessee, and you are looking for a tribe to belong, I would love for you to visit us at eonashville.com. Join 345 other entrepreneurial leaders in this city who get together in what we call forum. And this is a great place for you to grow personally and professionally on this entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for watching, and have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.